Coming up on FYI, pupils ditch their phones for a longer school day. Do disabled children get enough support with their education? And why football should only be a force for good. First, most schools already have a ban or restrictions on pupils using phones, but one government MP wants to make it law that smartphones are banned in school. MP Josh McAllister's suggestion has to be debated in Parliament before it can be voted into law. But some people want the government to go further than just a phone ban in schools. A recent poll asked parents if the government should introduce a complete ban on smartphones for under 16s, and most said yes. But on the flip side, First News, the UK's newspaper for kids, asked readers what they thought, and most young people said no. Well, here on FYI, we found out about a school where pupils were willingly giving up their phones for a longer, extended school day. I went to see how they were finding it. It was 7 AM this morning when many of these pupils got into school. And it will be 6 PM when they leave, a whole 11 hours later. Can you imagine an 11-hour school day? That's what one school is trialling in a bid to tackle pupils' addictions to phones. But it's not all maths and English lessons. This lot get to take part in loads of fun activities, like cooking, drama and sports.
I was like, why would I want to be to school for 11 hours? And my mum told me to give it a try. I gave it a go and I ended up liking it.
You get to spend more time with your friends and you get to learn new things, like more fun stuff. I used to spend nearly like 4 hours on my phone, but like I spend like 1 hour and a half now. I don't really need it anymore.
Why did you feel it was necessary to introduce an 11-hour school day?
So it was a mixture of reasons really. We felt that since the return to school post-COVID, we were seeing lots of students that were struggling with interacting socially, and we felt it would be really beneficial to them, and also to help a lot of students spending more and more time on their mobile phones and on social media. There's so much research into social media and the harm it has on young people's mental health, you know, people being unkind to each other, us having to pick up issues that have happened on phones.
Over the last 3 years, the number of young people with mental health issues has risen by 50%, and some argue that smartphones are one of the major contributing factors. All Saints banned its pupils from carrying phones in 2016, but they can keep devices out of view in bags or lockers. So how are these guys finding being phoneless for an extended school day?
You kind of forget about your phone because you're having so much fun playing the activities.
It's helped me in a lot of different ways. It's helped me to know more people.
It's bad to use your phone a lot because you can't like really make friends through online.
Pupils have a choice if they want to take part in the 11-hour school day. From what I can see, it's been pretty popular, and I wonder if some other schools will give it a go as well. In the lead up to Halloween, we've heard about some spooky stories that are being shared online. But are they fake news or facts? First, we saw this image being shared that claimed it showed an ancient grave of a giant in South Africa. But is it real? Or how about this picture of an apparent ghost ship that washed up on the coast of Florida in the USA after hurricanes hit the country? Fake news or fact? We'll let you know later in the show. Next up, we're talking football. Loads of us love it, but sadly we often hear about racist abuse from fans towards players, both at games and online. This week, the Premier League dedicated all matches to their No Room for Racism campaign, where they celebrated the contributions of people from different backgrounds to show diversity makes football stronger. Our resident footy expert Braden recently did a big talk on his favourite sport, and caught up with ex-footballer Alex Scott about how to tackle discrimination in the game.
Football, a game that keeps many of us on the edge of our seats. It's exciting, it's nail-biting, and most of all, it has the ability to bring people together.
It's really you.
I am.
It's really you.
Back in 2017, I appeared in a viral video with Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola when I was just 8 years old. It was watched by millions of people around the world, and that's where my story began.
From there, I became a presenter and I've been lucky enough to report on football stories for FYI and Sky News, a subject I'm obviously really passionate about. And today, I get to talk about it in front of a pretty big audience.
I'm doing a lecture known as a TEDx talk on the subject of football as a force for good. But why is this so exciting? Well, because this can be watched by millions of people all around the world. No pressure then.
TEDx Talks are where people share cool ideas or thoughts that can inspire you, teach you something new, or even change the way you see the world.
In the summer of 2022, I visited a Syrian refugee camp in Jordan, just off the border from Syria, to report on the impact of conflict on children and how their lives are shaped through matters completely out of their control. And the one thing that united us all while I was there was football. And football was the international language. Once we started playing, all barriers were gone. And there was boys, girls, young, old, joining in this game from everywhere. Now, I remember actually looking across and thinking how incredible it was to be part of such an experience between people separated by so much, yet brought together by something so simple, a game of football.
But there's no denying that despite all of its positive impact, there is a darker side to football. Too often, we see reports of rival fans fighting, stuff being thrown onto the pitch, and even incidents of racist chanting, abusive comments, and negativity online. During Euro 2024, the UK Football Policing Unit alone received over 600 reports of racist comments, and this is not only a problem in the UK, but in other countries as well.
Someone who knows all there is about the beautiful game is sports presenter and former professional footballer Alex Scott.
She was a key feature for both Arsenal and England for well over a decade and went on to become one of our country's greatest footballers. She was awarded an MBE and was inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame. But as well as tasting the highs of football, she's also experienced the lows.
You've been involved with football all your life. What sort of negativity have you seen, when you were playing football or in the footballing world in general?
From my perspective, obviously, I've seen the racist side of it from when I was younger to even now transitioning to broadcast and talking about football. And obviously the stuff that I've had to deal with in terms of sexism, people's perceptions of female football and about women shouldn't be involved in the game, where I think that's all changing. We've still got a very long way to go.
I agree. I do think there is still a lot more that needs to be done though. And what sort of ways have you found most effective in coping with this negativity when you've had to face it?
If I'm being honest, I can't stand here and be like, oh yeah, it's easy and this is the way, and because it's taken me a while, I suppose, to get to where I am now. And at the end of the day, it's holding myself with grace and dignity and keep doing my job to the level that I know I can. And for me to keep winning, because I know if I remove myself and stop doing it, then I suppose the person that is being racist towards me will win, and I want to inspire a young girl or a young boy one day be in my position.
Now, moving ahead, what sort of changes do you think need to happen in order to make football better for the players and for the fans?
Actually putting things in place like punishments or identifying these people that are coming to stadiums and are doing things that are not allowed.
While it seems there's still a way to go in making the beautiful game perfect, I believe that football is an incredible force for good and helps bring the people of the world together.
This story truly made us go OMG. A brand new fire station in Germany burnt down because the building didn't have any fire alarms installed. Apparently it's not a legal requirement. It took over 170 firefighters to put out the blaze. That started after a battery caught fire in a vehicle. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but the fire destroyed 10 fire engines and reportedly caused over £17 million worth of damage. On FYI, we report on the issues that matter to you, and getting a proper education is something that's important for all of us. But we heard from a recent report from the Disabled Children's Partnership that only 2 in 5 disabled young people feel they get the support they need at school or college. They found that when children don't get enough support, they sometimes experience long-term absences from school or even leave education altogether. Maya went to meet Isla to get her take on this.
I'm in Bristol to meet 12-year-old Isla, who's autistic. She hasn't been going to school for over a year.
Hi Isla, hi Sarah, how are you guys?
We're good, thank you.
We're starting off my visit with one of Isla's favourite things to do, the fun and relaxed activity of slime making.
You don't go to school, right? Of course not. Hate it there. School is stressful. We tried to tell them that they need to understand me, but they didn't.
Not all disabilities are visible. Isla's brain works a bit differently to many others. Autistic people can find it harder to communicate and interact with others. They may have their own strengths and challenges.
No.
Some of the most basic tasks are overwhelming to Isla.
We can't do it unless she watches something to try and take her mind off of the pain.
Stop it.
So brushing her hair and teeth and even getting dressed can be difficult. And on some days, impossible.
A part of Isla's autism means that sometimes her nervous system sees commands as a threat, which means an instruction from an adult can really stress her out.
That made primary school really hard.
The teachers, if I got stressed, they would drag me into a room and lock me in there so I could get my anger out.
And how does that make you feel?
Sad.
Isla got so overwhelmed that she went from hiding under tables to trying to climb the school gates to escape.
I hated it so much. I didn't want to be there, so obviously I wanted to escape it, so I tried, but they didn't let me.
It took 3.5 years for Isla to be diagnosed as autistic, and she was falling further behind in her education. Finally, in September 2023, she started attending a special school that could cater for her educational needs. But the nearest suitable school was 45 minutes away, and the journey was really stressful for Isla. She also found being in the new school triggered bad memories of her previous school experiences. After 2 weeks, she had to leave because it was just too difficult for her. Now a teacher from the school visits at home, but Isla can only manage a couple of hours each week.
It just means that my school comes to me.
Yeah.
Instead I have to go, which is better, I guess.
Do you think you'd go back to school? Or...
Absolutely not.
Really?
No. Come on, breakfast, yay.
Her mum feels that a quicker diagnosis would have meant earlier access to the specialist help Isla needed, and may have prevented her developing such negative feelings about school.
Recently on FYI, Scarlett put this issue to the government's Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson. She's responsible for everything that goes on in England's schools.
The number of kids with special educational needs and disabilities has more than doubled in the past 9 years, but loads aren't getting the support they need. So what are you going to do about these problems?
The whole system where it comes to support for children with special educational needs and disabilities just isn't working in the way that it should. There's a lot more that we need to do. So as part of the review that we've got underway, that is being led by experts in education, and they're looking right across the board at all areas of the curriculum and what we need to do differently and making sure it's inclusive as well.
You can see more on the challenges that disabled children face to be treated equally on FYI Investigates Disability and Me at first.news/FYI. So, did you work out this week's spooky theme fake news or fact? Well, both these pictures and the accompanying claims are fake news. The picture of the apparent giant's grave in South Africa is actually an edited photo of an archaeological excavation in Russia. We got our hands on the original picture as well as others from the same dig, where you can clearly see the true scale of the skeleton, and it's definitely not a giant. As for the supposed ghost ship washed up on the shores of Florida, it's actually a prop ship from a Disney film, Pirates of the Caribbean. The ship used to be displayed on a private island where fans could visit on a cruise. Both pictures have been seen by thousands, with some seeming to believe they are true. Remember, things aren't always as they seem online, especially around Halloween. That's about it from us, but we'll see you next week for more of the top news stories. Bye!